Hi everyone, and welcome to another Pro User interview. My name's Kevin, Lead Product Educator at Zenler, and today with me, I'm very pleased to introduce you to Katerina. Hi, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
So for those of you that have not followed the series of Pro User interviews, this is where I get the opportunity to talk to one of the people using Zenler at Pro or Premium level, course creators, and see how they're using the platform for their own business. And of course, everybody uses it slightly differently. So it's really fascinating to see. So Katerina, for those that are watching that may not be familiar with you, can you just do a quick introduction and let everybody know what it is that you teach, please?
Yes, my website is called The Intuitive Cook. So I teach cooking, obviously, but I teach cooking in a different way because I'm trying to get people away from recipes. I'm trying to teach people to become more confident and trust their own taste and their own judgment while they're cooking, and so that they don't have to rely on recipes. It doesn't mean that, you shouldn't use recipes, but if you don't rely on them, if you know what you're doing without being told what you're doing, then cooking actually becomes really so much easier and much more stress-free. And yeah, so that's what I'm teaching.
Excellent. So how did you get to the point where you decided this is what you want to teach people? Have you got a history in cooking? Have you a trained chef, or is it just something?
Well, exactly that. I'm not. That is the exact thing that inspired me, really. I'm a home cook like you and everybody else, really. So I have no training in cooking whatsoever. I just grew up in a family where there was a lot of cooking, and so I've always been cooking, but I just took this for granted for a long time. And then life conspired. So 5 years ago, I started running a little whole food shop. Mm-hmm. And I also, because of that, started studying to qualify as a nutritionist. And the combination of being in the shop and basically talking to people about their challenges with cooking and with recipes and how stressful it is not to be able to find the ingredient, and how do you know how to substitute things. And so I talk to people about these kind of things in the shop all the time because they come in with their recipes or with their challenges. And I realized how often recipes make people stuck. And at the same time, studying nutrition, I also realized that most nutritionists are churning out meal plans and recipes all the time. That is what they do because that's, people want instructions. And I'm someone who can't follow a recipe for the life of me. I've got stacks of recipe books, but I use them as a kind of treasure trove of inspiration. And I think this is how it started, that I started thinking, oh, wow, actually my way of cooking could be something useful for other people, because people feel stuck, people feel stressed, people feel overwhelmed, and recipes don't really solve this, because you kind of have to follow the recipe and you don't dare, even, substitute something you don't have to hand. So, and then I think it took quite a few years of this kind of, bubbling along underneath until I decided to take the plunge about 8 months ago, maybe. So it's all quite new. So I'm new to this whole online course creation, funnel building, and all that.
As you were sitting there explaining that, I'm sitting there nodding away thinking, everyone has probably been in that position where they've tried to follow a recipe. It's never turned out, even though they've followed it exactly for whatever reason, or they've got to a critical bit and they've not got a certain things, they've forgot to get it. And it's quite stressful, actually. So yeah, I'm really intrigued by what it is that you do. It sounds fantastic, because it sounds like a lot more enjoyment comes back into the cooking, doing it your way.
Well, exactly. It's something about making, by not being chained to a preset idea of what it has to be. I mean, what I'm saying, what it has to be, good food is tasty and it's nourishing. And basically that's what there is to it. There is nothing else. It doesn't have to be fit for Instagram. And, I think this is another thing that these days, I mean, there is cooking all around us, but this kind of, competitive cooking. There is chefs telling us how to do things. There is TV competitions. There is glossy food photography everywhere, including on everybody's Instagram feed, it seems. And so I think that makes people really self-conscious and somehow thinking that food is meant to look like that. But actually, 100 years ago, people were just cooking, because if you didn't cook, you didn't get to eat. And now cooking has somehow become optional and some sort of aspirational hobby, but actually cooking is a really basic human instinct. It's, preparing food to nourish ourselves and our loved ones. And I would really like to make people think differently about all that.
Fantastic. So I'm looking forward to showing everybody your site in a moment. So you get to the point you've decided this is something that you now want to help people with. So we've got to the point where we said, okay, I need to teach this to people. Obviously, everybody goes through a different path in how they discover New Zenler. What was your path to finding New Zenler?
It was a sort of a long process, because initially I set up my website on Wix, because this was a platform I was familiar with, because I set up other websites, my previous business and the shop that was set up there. So that's where I went just by default. And then as I sort of started, learning more about this whole online course thing, New Zenler did pop up sort of in people on forums, in groups, sort of mentioning it here and there. It was mentioned. So I was aware of it, but at the time I didn't sort of feel that this was, I didn't have a course ready. So it was just sort of at the back of my head. And then I think maybe it was that I started seeing information about the price changing, that I decided, well, actually, I'm not ready yet, but maybe it's worth having a look now. And when it comes to it, I'm sort of quite I'm not a tech person at all, but I'm sort of quite research obsessed, whether it comes to anything really. So I went and got a free account, and I started looking more into it and looking more specifically about people sort of, looking for reviews specifically. And I thought, oh, wow, this looks really good. And it's a really, and then I looked into other platforms and started comparing. And I'm also someone who is a bit sort of, I like to be a bit sort of off track. So I'm not scared of, if everybody's going for a certain kind of platform because this is, what you should be going to, Kajabi in this case. I mean, first of all, this was eye-wateringly expensive too, but I'm not afraid to say, well, this looks great. This seems to be doing what it's doing. And then I just went for it and signed up for the pro plan, even though I wasn't really ready. And then, I discovered the Facebook group, and I mean, the support you get on that Facebook group is just so amazing. And I became sort of really, in a way, I wasted a lot of time because I was so obsessed just reading through this Facebook group, even though I wasn't ready yet, just reading about all the problems other people had and all the solutions that could be to that. And then I started playing around with it myself, and I quite liked how it all worked. And there were increasingly things that annoyed me about Wix. And then at some point I thought, you know what? I could, I could do with a website redesign, because what I had at that point was what I had done, long time ago. And I thought, what, if I'm going to redesign the website, I can just as well redesign it on this new platform. I'll take everything over. I had a few sort of concerns about the blog and all the work it would take to move the blog over, because at that point I had over 40 blog posts. But I went and did it. And I'm so pleased I did, because it looks great. It works well. And in the meantime, I also did a sort of a trial workshop of something that I wanted to turn into a course. So I did it as a live webinar, all on the new Zenler platform, and that worked really nicely. And so now I'm going to run a second iteration of this, and this time it will be paid. So that is going to be an interesting, an interesting next step.
Fantastic. And that's something that's quite common amongst the people that I talk to in the new Zenler community. They come along, they want to use a platform that isn't, you don't have to learn lots of coding to use it. You don't have to be a web designer to use it. All of the stuff when you come into new Zenler, and if anybody's watching this and they've just found new Zenler for the first time, everything is given to you. So a home page, there's a basic layout for a home page where you just fill the bits in. There's pages for each course you create. So it will create you a sales page and tell you some of the bits that you need to put into that. So it's really just adding your own personality into it, rather than going, oh my God, I've got to design something from scratch and get fully overwhelmed with it. And that was the whole point of new Zenler.
But I have to say that while you set it up to be easy and to be, ready to go, if you like, a big point for me was that it allows the flexibility to do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Because, again, as someone who is sort of likes to be off track, I hate cookie cutter websites.
Yeah.
I really do. And this was not something I wanted for my website. So I was really happy to see that, there is the flexibility to change everything and to make it look exactly as you want. So for me, that was a really important point, that it does make it easy. And I definitely agree that the page editor is really easy to use. I think it took me maybe a week to get it. So it wasn't immediately, but I don't think anybody can expect to understand how software works immediately, even if it's really easy. So, it took me about a week of playing around with it, but now that I'm familiar with it, it's just so easy. and I think once I managed to build one page as I wanted it, it was almost like a breakthrough, because having done that one page, then I could just go on from there. And it really, then you get really that pull, that sort of the motivation that pulls you through to finish the job.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so going back into your courses, so you're reasonably at the beginning of your course creation situation, where you're building your first one out and you're looking at to do your next one. Do you have in your mind, or when you put your course together, is there a format to your courses, as in, are they all done through live classes and then the recordings put into a course? Is there worksheets to go with it? How do you compile your course?
The first course I did was a live workshop, if you like, because I like them to be hands-on, which is an interesting challenge when you're doing online courses, obviously. And there was a download. And I think I'm still trying to work out how it's going to look, but then also it's, something that evolves. Will I build a bigger course where there is lots of different lessons, which would be lots of different videos and worksheets and all that? Or do I build more of a library of mini courses and some sort of kind of live support to connect them all together? and I know that these different options are possible on Zenler. So it's kind of more like me deciding what, maybe not even whether it's either or, and what the correct next step is. And at the moment, I think I'm thinking more of a series of mini courses rather than start with one big course, because every mini course is giving, is valuable learning for me, not only in terms of how to set it up technically, but also, the audience feedback and learning more about my audience. And it's mini courses I also find are maybe easier to sell, because it doesn't have to be such a big sell, because it's not such a big investment. And also there is this thing that cooking is a sort of organic, sort of live process. And I'm thinking maybe it is more useful for people to have things in sort of smaller chunks, and the sort of live support with live sessions in between, rather than sort of a big thing, because, you don't start and finish learning about cooking. It's a constant process where you kind of, you get more experienced, you enrich your repertoire, and you get more confident, and the confidence only comes with doing. And I'm still thinking of how I can build a path to help people through that.
Interesting. And in my business, I've been creating courses for 15 years, and it's, as you say, it's constantly evolving. It's constantly based on feedback and experience, just like with what you're doing. It changes. So where you are right at the beginning is never where you are at the present day. It will always move forward. And I think what I really love about Zenler is you do have that flexibility within the platform. You don't just have to have a linear course with worksheets or just a video and a worksheet. You can do whatever you want with it. So if you want to run live classes as a course, you can. There's so many different ways of presenting your courses that will help your students, and of course it's got to fit in with what your business is as well. So it sounds fascinating, the way that the process you're thinking it through at the moment, because most people, they do have an end point within a course. Most courses will have at the end of this course you will learn, and that's it. And then if you want the next step, that's probably a more advanced thing, or the next technique, or whatever it may be.
Well, but it's not that I'm going away from that concept, because if I have a small bite-sized thing, it's still, something you will learn, but it's a concept, not a recipe. So I think I'm more about teaching concepts and principles rather than a ready-made thing, because I'm trying to teach people to have the confidence to play with it themselves and to make it their own. So this is why I'm trying to get away from a strict sort of, well, this is how you do it. No, that's not what I'm trying to teach. That's what I'm different about you. I'm trying to give you the confidence to find your own way.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating. It's very unique. So, okay, let's move on then. So, let's take a look at your site and see where you are. So if you want to share your screen with us, and we'll have a look at what you've got so far. Now, for those of you watching this, wherever you might be watching this, if you look below the video, you'll see a link through to Katerina's website. So you don't need to panic and write it down as you see it on the screen. There will be a link that you can click underneath to go and visit. So this is your homepage?
Yes, this is my homepage.
So the Intuitive Cook.
Exactly.
Fantastic name. Really love it. So do you want to just scroll down and talk us through how you put this page together and what the idea was behind it?
Yeah. So, well, I guess, and again, I'm sure this will evolve, but, the idea is to catch people's attention sort of really early on about what I'm about, and then to, lead them through some ideas. And and if I have hopefully caught their attention, they can click through to other parts of the website. So this is how it starts, and there is a button here that actually leads to the blog, because all my content really is on the blog.
Yep.
At the moment. There is one of my favorite quotes ever. Oops. So here is some testimonials.
Excellent.
There, that button is going to my next course, which at the moment is a waiting page. Mm-hmm. And this sort of leads to further sections of the website, the blog again, the course again, and I have a quiz that you can also see at the very top of the page. That is a sort of code. The quiz is hosted elsewhere, and I've put the code so the top bar shows up. And linking through that, you can also go and take the quiz. And at the bottom, and this is sort of on each of my pages, I've got that sign up form for people to leave their email address. It basically signs them up to my weekly newsletter, which I call, your weekly dose of kitchen confidence.
So a really nice homepage with some good things that are going on there. So people, you're navigating them to the part that they want to find, which is exactly what a homepage should do. So yeah, really, really good. So do you want to take us over to your page for your next course? You said that's on a waiting list at the moment.
Yes. So basically, I have built that as a course. So this is the sales page in that course funnel. Mm-hmm. So, but for various reasons, I couldn't set a date yet. So this is why I set this up like that. So this is how the sales page, which is basically the same as it would be for the course, except that the buttons would be leading to a different place.
Of course.
There is a couple of testimonials, another opportunity to join the wait list. That's not good, is it? And there is some more testimonials. That's it, really.
And for me, this is probably one of the most important pages that new course creators should take notice of. So many people will wait until they've actually got their course done and then go, right, it's ready, I'm going to go and sell it. And they've got nobody to sell it to. So to have a waiting page where people can come onto a list and go, right, you know what your next course is going to be about. Okay, here's where you can just wait and I'll notify you when I'm going to take the enrollments. It makes it so much easier to get students coming in. Because if you're writing blog posts and you're directing them to the waiting page, it just works so seamlessly.
Yeah, I mean, my blog posts do direct people to my sign up page, to my newsletter, really, because this is obviously, and this is, I think, the phase I'm in at the moment. It's about building my audience. So all the different ways of growing my email lists. This is why every blog post has a footer that goes to the email list, and why I've done the quiz. The quiz is a sort of, a different kind of freebie, really. And I'm still learning how to drive the traffic to those pages. So,
but this is a real important page, and I'm emphasizing it because, there's lots of things we can do within a new Zenler site, and it's not just about I can only sell a course when I've got a course ready. We can pre-sell courses that are not even created. I've done that multiple times in my own business where we'll say we're doing a course on the 1st of August. If you want to buy it before it goes live, you get a special rate for that, or put them like you have on a wait list. So when you're ready to take the registrations, you've got a list of people that have already shown that interest. You know who they are. You can segment them out in your lists so you know exactly what they're looking for. It's a phenomenally powerful page, and most people won't use this technique. So I just wanted to overly emphasize to say this is really good. You know, so it's not about always having the live course ready now, but sometimes having this element here will help you just keep on the momentum with what you're doing within your learning management system or your new Zenler system. So
yeah,
that's fantastic.
And
really,
as I
really
said,
like
this page is the same as it would be when the course is live. So, and you know, it's not a very long sales page. I'm still learning about sales pages, and I'm not sure I want something very, very long. But anyway, so that's the same. So when people are interested, at least they can see the information.
Yeah. Don't I mean, for those people that are new and they're looking and they're thinking that all sales pages have to be really long, they don't. A sales page has one job, and that is to get people to take the action, the one action that you want them to take, which is normally to buy the course. In this case, your sales page is one action: sign up for the wait list. And if it does that, it's a great sales page. It doesn't have to be particularly long, it just has to do its job. It's as simple as that. Right, that's brilliant. So if you want to stop sharing your screen for me, I've really enjoyed looking at that. And for those watching, do go and explore the blog area there, because as Katerina says, there's quite a lot of blog posts over there. Go and have a read if that interests you. You know, blogging is one of our things. I love blogging. I love reading about blogging and what people are writing. It's a fantastic way of getting a bit more knowledge and understanding around something in a world that you're not normally involved in. So go and do that. My final question for you, and thank you for spending this time with me. It's been really interesting hearing about your business. Is where you are right now, is you're a step more forward than people that have never done anything within New Zenler up till now. They've never created a course before. They've never created even an opt-in page. What, with your courses and the ideas that you've got, and clearly you've got a path defined for your next course, we've seen the waiting page, etc. For people that are new to this and they've just decided, I'm going to teach something and I've got skill, but I don't know where to start, what would be your one piece of advice for people that are brand new to getting involved in courses?
Oh, that's a good question, but maybe not that easy to answer. Because, you know, I'm still learning exactly this, and this is one of the challenges I have, is like, what step should come before what? And, you know, if I do this first and that first, am I putting the horse before the cart or the cart before the horse? And so I'm constantly struggling with, you know, figuring out what is the next step. But I think there is really something about knowing your audience. And obviously you may think that the skill you have is great to teach, and I'm sure there are people out there who want to learn whatever you have to teach, but sort of going and finding your audience and see what they really struggle with, which is going to inform your website and your landing pages and your whole funnel, because you want to talk to people in their own language. And I guess I had the advantage of having that shop where I talk to people every day. So, but, you know, just running that one live workshop and gave me, again, you know, different insights and what people think and what people want and what people are struggling with. And I guess, you know, I think you can't do too much of that. So I think rather than getting kind of overly sort of focused on the technicalities, because actually the technicalities are not so difficult, because it's all there in the Zenler system to set up. I think it will probably, you know, pay off having a bit of think about your audience and how you want to bring your message across first as a priority before getting stuck into the technicalities.
Brilliant. And, you know, that's fantastic advice, because a lot of people will do as you say, as in they've come up with the idea and they'll tell people what they're going to learn, rather than finding out actually what is it people want to learn. And that's a world of difference. So great advice. So thank you so much for your insights. Thank you for showing us around your site. For those watching, just as a reminder, there will be underneath this video a link directly to Katerina's site. If you wish to get on the waiting list for her next course, then please do so. If you want to have a look through the blog or get on her email list, then feel free to do that. If cooking is your thing and it's stressing you out and you want to explore a little bit more uniqueness within the way that you decide to approach cooking, and I love this approach, then go and have a look, get involved and see where it takes you, because that path is not yet defined for you. So Katerina, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure talking to you and finding out about your business and your courses. And for everybody else, I will see you on the next new Zenler Pro User interview. Have a fantastic time using Zenler, and we'll catch up soon.